Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Dream, and you are here for the It's All Good show. This is a podcast where I get to have conversations with fascinating people that many of whom I get to meet along the way. Today's guest, I actually met at a black tie party, a formal event. Um, Look at me. I don't really look like someone that goes to many formal events, but we were both in Dallas, Texas in April of this year at the Changing Life and Destiny conference. And we had a lovely conversation during the cocktail hour of the big evening event. And it was when I found out what she does and about her practice, and I asked some very probing questions because this is an area I'm very interested in. I said, you know what, I want you to be a guest on the It's All Good show. And she said, absolutely. So her name is Toni Engram. She is DDS and AIAOMT. She's a pioneering biological dentist, integrative health coach, and owner of Flourish Dental Boutique in Richardson, Texas. After facing personal health challenges with an autoimmune condition, Dr. Engram radically transformed her approach to dentistry, moving beyond traditional practices to embrace a whole body philosophy that focuses on prevention and the safer treatment of oral disease. She's a graduate of Texas Christian University and Baylor College of Dentistry. She holds certifications from some of the most respected organizations in biological and integrative dental care. She is SMART certified. We're going to have to ask about that. And that, I guess, has to do with safe amalgam removal through the AIAOMT. And she is also a TBI ambassador through the Breath Institute. Her work bridges oral health, airway health, and whole body wellness. Wow, I got through all of that. Dr. Toni, welcome to the It's All Good show. It's a treat for me to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. It's a treat for me to be here, and you got through all those acronyms
I know,
fantastically.
right? Like, not going to mess with me this morning. um, this is this is all very interesting to me because early on I was brought into the world of holistic dentistry, but it goes beyond even the word holistic at this time. So when we met, I was like, oh, wait a sec. Is this just another one of these dentists that's using a title of holistic or something like that just because they take out mercury fillings or something? And I really put you through the paces. I said, you know what I'm doing here? I'm sort of vetting you. And you said, absolutely, I like this. And you answered every question in a way that made a lot of sense to me. And that's why it was important for me to have you on the It's All Good show. But let's start at the beginning. What led you to dentistry and how did your health journey shift your professional path toward biological and integrative care?
Yeah, so my path to dentistry itself was not unlike many other of my colleagues. I just wanted to be a normal dentist, and I was drawn to dentistry because I liked healthcare, but I didn't want to wait to start my life after going through 8 years of college. I didn't want to then have more residency and training. So they were all family decisions. I wanted a nice lifestyle. I wanted the easier way out, which is not a good reason to choose a career. Kids at home, don't do what I did. But man, I am so, so thankful that that's where God led me, because I don't know that I don't know that there's um, a way that I would have wound up in this position, getting to have these conversations, were it not for that selfish decision, and then getting sick. And like you said, it really changed the course of my career in such a good way, because I was, even though I was young, I was getting burned out by dentistry pretty quick. It I did not find the standard dental practice very rewarding. I would do all of this teeth carpentry, so to speak. I would drill, fill, and bill. Um, and then patients would come back and they wouldn't be any better. And then sometimes we'd wind up having to drill on teeth again because we hadn't solved the root cause of the problem. So when I got sick, I was, very typical experience with an autoimmune condition. So I had symptoms for a long time, got kind of gaslit and tossed aside by my doctors, who just thought, oh, this is no big deal. It's just IBS or whatever. Um, it really took me pushing them to to figure out what was going on. And what was going on is I had Crohn's colitis, and had some pretty moderate damage to my colon already by the time I was diagnosed. And they gave me the standard, Western medicine answer of, here are your medications. You're going to be on these until they stop working. And then, oh, sorry, eventually you're going to need to remove all or part of your colon. Um, and not only that, looked me in the eye and said, Toni, your diet has nothing to do with this. And even though I was not in the holistic space at all, I had no, knowledge of any kind of integrative care. I knew in my gut that that could not be true. Or maybe I was just stubborn, whatever the case may be. So I went down all the rabbit holes to try to figure out how to actually heal. And what I learned in that process is what I was treating in myself, in my own body, was an inflammatory condition that was caused in part by an imbalance in my microbiome, an imbalance in the bacteria in my gut. Excuse me. And what I treat every day in my patients is tooth decay and gum disease. It's an imbalance in the microbiome of the top part of your gut that leads to inflammation. So there were so many correlations between what I was experiencing myself and what my patients were experiencing. Once I got to feeling better, and I did heal my gut and I did get better, and I've not had any issues with Crohn's disease in over a decade. I knew that I had to be able to do the same thing for my patients, or what are we doing? You know, what are we, actually contributing to their lives? And so that's what led me down the path of more holistic care, biological dentistry, and being much more intentional with how I'm treating these chronic illnesses that we still don't have a good handle on. We still don't have tooth decay. We still don't have gum disease really under control. They're two of the most common diseases on the planet.
So tell us, is there a difference between biological dentistry and holistic dentistry? How do those interrelate, or are they the same?
It's A lot of people use them interchangeably. I tend to use them interchangeably because I think that there are people who understand both terms equally well. So I want to use whatever people recognize. Holistic, I think, is just a very general, we are looking at the whole body instead of just the mouth in isolation. When we talk about biological dentistry specifically, then that's going back to the principles of biological medicine, which are going from, beyond just the germ theory of disease, for one germ causes one illness, and you can take a medication to then kill that germ or illness, and then therefore patient gets better. Well, we're going beyond that and looking more at the terrain theory, where what is the person's toxic load? How is the health of their terrain? And are we supporting health, or are we not supporting health by what we do with that? So a lot of overlap. A lot of people use the terms interchangeably, but just slight nuances in where the terms came from.
Okay. What is the biggest misconception people have about biological dentistry?
Biggest misconception, it really depends on what camp you ask. So I think a lot of people who are very mainstream or grew up or spent their career in Western medicine, there's a misconception that it's not science-based or that it's not based in evidence, which is 100% not true. Now, we do have, I think I try to have a much better appreciation for my intuition as I practice dentistry. But the principles are very much ground in good, true science.
Okay. So even as recently as yesterday, I saw a post on social media from a friend of mine, and it was about how everything in the body is related to what's going on in the mouth. And she said, "Are you all aware of this?" And I thought, this is stuff I've been talking about for years, and I guess I feel fortunate that I was brought into this awareness so early, but many people don't understand it or how it all connects. Give us an idea of how that statement that everything that's going on in our bodies is related to what's going on in our mouth.
It's really taken a long time for Western medicine to start to catch up to Eastern medicine on this, because, like you said, anybody who's been exposed to Eastern medicine or even the naturopaths in the world, uh, they've known this for thousands of years, that everything is connected. There's what's called a tooth meridian chart, where every single tooth in your mouth is connected energetically to different parts of the body. And so when Western medicine doesn't give us a good answer, you better believe I'm going to that chart and we're looking to see where these correlations are. And then thankfully, evidence-based dentistry is starting to catch up to this, because we know from a scientific standpoint that not only are they energetically connected, but there's research to back up that, yes, these systemic health conditions, chronic health conditions, can really show up in the mouth, and issues in the mouth that may be hidden, that may be asymptomatic, are showing up in other parts of the body.
So share with us what are the long-term risks of traditional dental practices like mercury amalgams, fillings, and why is smart certification so essential for safe removal?
Yeah, so all of those fillings that we got when we were kids are the silver ones, they're 50% mercury. And despite what we were taught in dental school, we can see the evidence that those teeth will off gas mercury vapor for decades after they've been placed. The half-life of mercury is 50 years. So you're not getting rid of it in your lifetime. You can't say that, oh, I've had it for so long that there's no way there's any more mercury in there. Well, no, there is, because the half-life is so, so long. And anytime you chew or grind your teeth or drink or eat something hot, you're going to release tiny bits of mercury vapor into your mouth. And obviously, most people, most of the time, in most circumstances, have been able to handle that heavy metal exposure. and do okay. But as we know, recently, especially over the last couple of decades, we've been just cumulatively exposed to so many toxins that we're much less resilient to these exposures than we used to be. So, yes, I absolutely have those patients who have amalgam fillings in every molar in their mouth, and they're doing just fine. But I also have those patients who have two or three and they're not doing fine. And they notice that if they get rid of the heavy metals, that they actually feel better neurologically. Now we want them working with a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor. We want them doing this carefully. And I'm careful to stay in my lane. I'm not practicing medicine of any kind. I'm just making sure that the dentistry isn't contributing to your job being harder on the functional medicine side, on the naturopathic side. Um, and so we know, if we're having little micro exposures to mercury every time we grind or chew, if there's heat or friction on those amalgam fillings, well, what do you think happens if it's time to replace it and your dentist takes a high-speed drill to that thing? You're going to have this huge, massive exposure to mercury in the dental chair. And not only that, your dentist and the dental assistants are also going to have these large exposures to mercury if you're not really careful. And so SMART certification is what one of the largest organizations for biological dentists, the IAOMT, that has a ridiculously long name, long acronym. What they came up with was, okay, how do we remove these without exposing the patient to any more mercury than absolutely necessary, and also not exposing the dentist and the dental assistants from huge exposures to mercury. And so that's what they set out to do. And so they created the SMART protocol, and it just stands for Safe Mercury Amalgam Removal Technique. And anyone who has that certification has been trained and has promised that they will use that method to minimize exposure to mercury in the dental chair. And I think it is incredibly important, incredibly important. Because if you have them removed by someone who doesn't respect the mercury that's in their office, and doesn't respect the fact that it could potentially be dangerous, then you could set yourself up for a tailspin, especially if you're already dealing with some chronic illnesses. This is not going to be helpful for you.
So, so many of us got mercury amalgam fillings when we were kids and things like that. Question number one, are dentists still doing those fillings?
Very few. There are still a few who are.
Okay. Question number two, what is an average? Well, I've got to say, I think you said that like there are some people that have them and it's not affecting them at all. That's a hard pill for
Not
me to.
symptomatic. They're
Okay.
not symptomatic.
Yet.
I agree with you. I agree
Okay.
with you. I don't think mercury is ever beneficial and ever without consequence.
Okay. So, what is an average person who knows that they have mercury fillings? Maybe they've got six, seven, eight of them. What are they to do? It's not an inexpensive process, truly, for an average person, that's working paycheck to paycheck or something like that. And yet now all this information comes out. They want to get them taken out. How do they go about doing this if they're not, upper middle class, and above in the socioeconomic strata?
Yeah, it is a major concern. And so I think those of us who are practicing this way, our job is to, for one, educate our colleagues, help our colleagues see the light so that we have more and more dentists doing this. And then on the patient end, I think making sure that you work with somebody that you know and trust. There are plenty of biological dentists who it's all or nothing. Um, and I think the all or nothing, like you said, I think that's great for patients who have more means, who have more disposable income, and they can get it all done in one fell swoop. Um, but there are also plenty of biological dentists who don't practice that way. It's not all or nothing. And we take our time. So I have a lot of patients where we'll space this out, either tooth by tooth or quadrant by quadrant. We'll take it as slow as we need to take it. And that's usually what I tell people. I want to make sure that the dentistry is done right and that it's done correctly. And if that means you can afford to do it all at once, then that's great. And if it means that we need to do half your mouth this year, half your mouth next year, or even further, then we do that. I think it's all about um, prioritizing what's the most important for your specific situation.
I appreciate your answer, and it's very real. Now, I have no idea I didn't do the research on this. What it means that you're a TBI ambassador.
TBI is the Breathe Institute. And so I've done some training with the Breathe Institute in their methods. Airway dentistry, airway health has always been really fascinating to me. And I think such an undertreated area for a long time. And so that's their training to specifically in lip and tongue tie techniques, even all the way through adulthood. And so we'll do what's called frenuloplasties that help it's like a tongue tie release for grownups to get the tongue functioning better so that patients can function better, eat better, breathe better, and be able to relieve some of the tension that can result in something as simple as a tongue tie.
So, how does someone know if this is an issue for them?
Well, I think having a diagnosis from a dentist is really the primary way, because sometimes you can have what looks like a tongue tie, but maybe it's not symptomatic, or you've got really good compensation methods, because other muscles will compensate when you can't function with the floor of your mouth and with your tongue the way that you were meant to. So that's the primary thing. But then anytime if you have difficulty speaking and pronouncing words, also in adults, you'll feel a lot of neck and shoulder tension. Like the traps get really tight because all of that fascia is connected from the tip of your tongue all the way down to the tip of your toes. So that tightness will show up in other places. And a lot of times that can be released with the tongue tie being released.
Okay. Now, is this also related to teeth grinding?
Absolutely, it can be. Yeah,
Okay.
if we see heavy teeth grinding, then we're going to immediately start looking at any kind of airway concern.
All right. This is interesting. It's an area I didn't really know anything about. Now, as both a biological dentist and an integrative health coach, how do you bring nutrition, detox, and lifestyle into your dental care plans?
So we always have to have a conversation about diet and lifestyle if we're needing to change anything in the mouth. Um, because it starts with what we put in our mouth, not, and I don't mean brushing and flossing. So yes, that's part of it. But really we need to be looking at what patients are eating. Um, with detox, that's a little bit different, because it depends on what we're detoxing. Do we need to just detox the mouth from infection and inflammation, or are we needing you to detox from a medical perspective, a whole body detox, which would be more with our naturopathic partners, our functional medicine partners, in order to then clean up the mouth so that you can detox more effectively. So 2 ways to go about it, but we're always going to be having those conversations. And we have a program that I think is unique in dentistry. I don't know of anybody else really doing it. But we will put patients through like a 3-month accelerator program when they join our practice many times, if they're dealing with chronic illnesses. And just like when you start with a new chiropractor, they might want to see you 3 times a week in the beginning until things kind of get unwound, and then you can start spreading those visits out. Well, it's the same concept with us. I think during those first 90 days, if we can see you more frequently and provide coaching on what your nutrition should look like and really get to the root cause of any kind of oral issues, get to the root cause of that tooth decay or that gum disease, then we can make those changes really quickly. And then we start to spread out the visits. So that then if we do need to do some drilling or filling or anything that's, more traditional dentistry, then it's going to be way more effective because we've already started the healing process.
Now, you used a word combination that brought something up for me, and that is root cause. And there's a documentary out by that name, and I was going to wait and ask about this later. What's your take on that particular documentary, if you want to discuss it, or just root canals in general?
I'll answer both because I think that documentary, now granted, it's a documentary, so take it with a grain of salt. Do I think everything in the documentary is 100% scientifically accurate? No, I don't. And I know some of the guests on there gotten a little bit of hot water because of things that they said, or just how the film was edited to make it seem like what they said. But I am so appreciative that it came out and that it started the conversation, and it started the conversation with people who weren't willing to have the conversation before, which is fantastic. Because the truth is that, for one, it's not black and white, but root canals are not perfect in what they're designed to do. They're just not perfect. So when you do a root canal, you are removing the nerve of the tooth to get you out of pain, but you're also removing the blood supply of the tooth. And so when that happens, then all the little tubules in the rest of the tooth, they don't get blood flow anymore. And so the bacteria in the area, because you've got bacteria everywhere, inside the bone, inside the teeth, the bacteria then start to shift. You go from these oxygen-loving bacteria where there's good blood flow, blood provides oxygen, to then more of these anaerobic oxygen-hating bacterial species, because blood can't get to the area anymore. It's like a mummified tooth that's inside of your mouth. And then similar to what we said for mercury, plenty of people have root canals and don't notice symptoms. However, it is something that your immune system is now constantly having to work on. And so for some people, they will become symptomatic somewhere else in the body after a root canal is done, or they will notice that they feel better. They can make those changes, peel back the layers of the onion of whatever their systemic illness is when they have a root canal removed or replaced. So it's a very nuanced issue, and I love the conversation because really what it forces us as dentists to do is to go back to having true informed consent. You should never be told just a flat blanket statement of you need a root canal, you have to have a root canal. There has to be the nuanced conversation because every person is different. Every person's biology is different. Um, and we want to make sure that patients are making the right choice for them, knowing all of the information. So can I, from a Western medicine, love and appreciate my dental license, can I tell you that root canals cause X, Y, and Z illness? No, I can't. But can I tell you that root canals are a stress to the immune system, that they activate the immune system in that area? And for some patients, that is a problem for them. Yeah, 100%. And so we want to make sure that we have those good informed decisions and those informed consent discussions before you make that decision for your own mouth.
So just to clarify, I can't even say it, not to put you on the spot. Do you offer root canals in your practice?
You can put me on the spot all you want. I don't offer root canals in the practice. Um, I I honestly would not mind if I had a specialist that worked for me, and we had a microscope. Because my thought is that if a patient chooses to do a root canal, because there are benefits to saving a tooth for function, even knowing that that may not be the permanent option. Um, a patient is more than welcome to make that choice. But I always tell them if they're going to choose a root canal, I want it to be the best darn root canal possible. And that's not in my hands as a general dentist. It's in the hands of a specialist who's using a microscope so that we have a better chance of cleaning out more of the spongy structure of the tooth. And then the group that I refer to, they're using ozone in the practice. They're not, they are practicing good informed consent. So it's not a, you need a root canal. It's, here are our choices. Here are the benefits to doing a root canal. And here's what would happen if we don't do the root canal. So I think it's just being more responsible with how we have those conversations.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, tell me, how do you stay centered and in alignment with your mission in an industry that often resists change? And that's
Mm.
probably an understatement about often resisting change.
I think, man, every area of healthcare, especially in America, is really resistant to change. But don't you think that over the last year, that, or maybe even a year since 2020, don't you think that we're starting to break those barriers and starting to break through more and more? Um, that's just what I go back to is we're each trying to do the best job we can with what we know. And so I think for my colleagues who want nothing to do with anything holistic, I think it's true. I also think for our super crunchy hippie practitioners, I think it's true there also that we all just need to have a little bit of humility in what we're telling patients. And so I think the way that I attempt to stay centered is just by constantly reminding myself that as much as I think I know, we don't know. We just don't know. Um, and so we pray and we give patients the information and we keep our intentions pure. And I think that's the best that we can do.
Fabulous. Um, Tell us, what are some of the most powerful patient transformations you've witnessed at your dental practice?
I really think it's really cool when we can get patients feeling better who didn't know that they were feeling bad. And so I would say most commonly those are our gum disease patients who have a ton of inflammation. And we can help clean that up, help heal that, and they come back and within a few months they're like, man, I have so much more energy now since I started seeing you. So those cases are amazing. Um, Being able to test saliva and be able to see objectively, those cases are so fun for not just our gum disease patients, but especially our patients who come in with a ton of cavities. And they come in with this narrative of, I just have bad teeth. It's just genetic. There's really nothing we can do. And then we can show them objectively. Not only can we fix the stuff restoratively, we can do good restorative dentistry, but then we can show them on paper, like here's your saliva test before, here's your saliva test now. You've actually shifted. You've made a shift. And not only is that great for that patient long term, but we've shifted their family tree. Because tooth decay and gum disease, these are transmissible illnesses. The bacteria that causes them is transmissible. So you really can treat a mama, and in doing so, you treat the whole family, her kids and her grandkids to come, because you've shifted that balance, and no more do they have bad teeth. No more is it genetic. You've really shifted the course of their family's health.
I love that. The buck stops here. Now,
Mm-hmm.
tell me, if you could wave a magic wand and just change one thing about how we view or receive dental care in this country, what would it be?
How we view or receive. With a magic wand, I would make it, and we're getting there. We're getting there. It's not there yet. But if we could help people see that oral health is health, and so therefore oral health care is healthcare, and put these on the same level, so that we're not treating the mouth as something extra. It's not like a supplement to your insurance plan. It's actually part of your primary care, is making sure that your mouth is healthy. So magic wand is that everybody views dental care just as important as the rest of medicine.
So I'm curious how you would answer this. What advice would you give to someone navigating their own autoimmune or chronic health diagnosis, especially when they feel unseen or unsupported? As you know, so much of what you're talking about and everything isn't the norm.
Absolutely. If you are struggling with an autoimmune or any chronic illness, I think just knowing that there are people out there who won't gaslight you, who will believe that what you're experiencing is real, and knowing that there are practitioners who can help you, I think is the first step. Because myself, coming from a very Western medicine background, it wasn't even on my radar that there were other people who could help me in a better way, than the gastroenterologist, who were supposed to be the medical specialists in what I was experiencing. So, number one, know that there are people that can help you. Number two, know that your bodies are designed to heal. They're designed that way. So you can absolutely experience true and complete healing. And I think that working on all of the emotional issues around that are actually just as important to your healing as working on the physical stuff. So getting the right mindset, getting your emotions in the right place, working through any kind of trauma that you have, I think is every bit as important for your healing as changing your diet.
I so appreciate that answer and you tying in emotional body to everything else because everything's connected. I do appreciate that. Now, where do you see the future of dentistry going, and what role do practitioners like yourself play in leading whatever that shift is?
I'm very hopeful that along with Utah, along with Florida. I really, really hopeful that we will soon see an end to fluoride in our water systems. But that would be amazing if we could not medicate the general public without their consent. That'd be cool. And I'm really hopeful that that will start happening during, the next 3 years is really my hope. Um, I think that the future of dentistry is treating fluoride as the medication that it is, even though there's some natural sources, it is a medical treatment. And so treating it as such, I think will be very, very important. Finding even more, even better substitutes to treating tooth decay, because it's still one of the most common illnesses, especially for our kids. And I think just having dental care that's safe. We're hopefully going to be phasing out all the mercury, all the amalgam fillings from dental care. I think we're already seeing less and less metal just in general that we're using in people's mouths. And I think that's a really good change. And it's going to take, the role that I have, the role that my colleagues have, is making sure that we keep pushing. We keep pushing the science, because we're not going to get anywhere with regulations unless we have the science to back it up. So keep pushing the science, keep pushing the research so that we know objectively the materials that are safer and better for dentists to use. I think we do such a good job, just like in surgery, in healthcare, we do such a good job at putting things back together when they're broken. So we do an amazing job in dentistry at restoring teeth, replacing teeth, restoring things back to function. We've just been really terrible at the disease processes that got us there. And so that really, I think, is the future of all healthcare, is let's get back, let's go upstream a little bit and see the actual cause of these illnesses so that we can help patients there.
Excellent. Dr. Toni, I have to say that when we met in Dallas, and with your staff person, Sierra, the two of you, your energy off the charts, positive, energetically fabulous, just, like energy attracts like energy. You all actually made a beeline from one side of the room to the side that I was on to come over and just say, "Who are you?" And it was excellent because it's led to this fabulous conversation. And I was impressed with you, with the questions I asked and the answers that you gave me in that short conversation we have. Let me just say that I am way beyond that right now with you. Your heart-centered approach, your understanding how your own challenges have led to this expansion that I know is helping so many people. And I know you made a presentation at that conference, and so I know you're out there, you know, waving the flag and really standing up for what you know to be right and wanting to get that information out there. And I thank you so much for being a guest on the It's All Good show. And I have to say, and my current holistic dentist that I've seen for years doesn't watch my podcast, so I'm not concerned about it. But I normally fly to this dentist whenever anything goes on for me. They're in another state, and I have to say that after all of this and meeting you and everything else, that you will be my new dentist of record, and I will be happy to fly to Texas for my appointments with you. And I just want to thank you for all that you're doing And yes, your energy, your smile, everything about you is so fabulous. People would be remiss to be in your area of Texas and not come to your practice. And we will put the link to your practice and any other information you want in the description in the podcast. But thank you so much.
Kind of you, so kind of you. I won't tell your other dentist. I don't know who it is. You don't have to worry about that. But no, really, thank you so, so much. That was so kind of you. Um, I I get the privilege of meeting a lot of really cool people. And so I am thankful to add you to that list of just really amazing, cool people who are just rays of light. And I'm thankful to have met you, to have made that beeline for you at the conference because we saw the beard and we're like, this is a guy we need to know. What's he all about?
I love it because you know there's people that see the beard and they turn tail and run the other way. And that's fine with me. Again, thank you so much. And I'll look forward to more contact with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate it.